Welcome to the Virtual Voice Services reporting online demonstration. Today we're going to give you a brief overview of how our reporting solution works. For more information, please call us on 08000 114 171 and we can give you a personal online demonstration to meet your exact requirements. Very quickly, we sign into the system via the login details that we've been given previously. So we're just going to log in now. Sign in. Right, we're now into the system. Quick bit of system orientation, all of the services that we have available to us down the right hand side, and then some quick links into reporting functions and other administrative features down the left hand side. Now I'm going to click straight into the call log for today and essentially bring up the call log information. Now it's fairly early on in the day, so there's been no calls received, but this screen essentially gives us a snapshot of total call count. It gives us our inbound totals, outbound totals, average durations, average time in conversation, average IVR time, and all of these you can drill down into in obviously far more detail. Now we're going to essentially select a date range to gather some data. Now across the top of our reporting portal you essentially have various options, drop down menus of pre-built reports that you can essentially mix and match. Now, essentially the first tab is, do you want to simply show me the details, email them to me, or have the details printed out? And then we have another column which essentially starts to really drill down into the vast set of pre-built reports that we have, showing things like just general call lists, so give a complete list of the calls, calls and billing, calls and what we call CDR information, that's call data records, recorded calls, or search specifically for one call using a caller ID. And then we move on to, do you want to show them as totals, group totals, time of day totals, dialed number totals, totals by the service that you actually have activated on your account, totals by customer, you can actually define customer groups as well, totals by CLI, start drilling into actual operators as well via totals by operator, totals by cost center because we can have cost center coding information input, totals by map region, and so on and so forth. So there's a vast amount of reports that are actually pre-built that allow you to drill down into lots of information, and then also the ability to search for, are you looking for essentially all calls, a specific call, calls answered by a certain individual, offered to, successful calls or failed calls, and then various billing items as well. We can also search via date range. So let's take a while back, hit save, we do a query on the database, and that pulls back information related to that specific date range. So here you can see we have a call count of 995 calls. We have then different inbound, outbound totals, average durations, average times in conversation, average times in IVR. You can also pull that up as a graph essentially, so the system will build a graph based on that information that you've selected, and that will give you a pictorial representation of exactly what the data essentially shows as well. So as we move on through the system, that's essentially showing as a graph of all calls across the month of May 2008 and when they occurred, and the call counts in any one particular day. I'd probably suggest the troughs here are weekends essentially, and maybe even here was a bank holiday towards the end of May, because there's a slightly longer period of essentially low call activity. So if we go back to the call list, we could actually define things such as map region, and this will actually then give us a view, if programmed, of where the calls occurred across the map. Now this is really interesting for things like advertising campaigns, because you can essentially have the map updating in real time. So if you're running, for example, a TV campaign, you can physically see where calls are coming from based on the geographical location. We can, for a small fee, even ensure that this geographical location is mapped for mobiles by doing a reverse lookup on the actual mobile device that is being used to make the call. So quite a lot of options there. We also have the ability to really start drilling down into things like queue performance reports. So we can essentially, I think there's too much data to display because of the time period we've selected here, so we can actually start drilling down into response times of physical services, response times of operators, etc. So for example here, that report is now built, even though there's quite a lot of data potentially contained within it. This actually gives us a real-time view of what is happening within a particular queue, and things like the number of people in the queue, the percent of calls answered within certain service levels, etc. There's always also more options that are available within any of the reporting aspects by clicking onto the links. You can also produce an Excel spreadsheet at any time to download the data that you've captured. That concludes the reporting demonstration of our virtual voice services system. I would suggest that you give us a call on 08000 114 171 to arrange a more personal demonstration based on your exact requirements. Thank you very much indeed.